Pokemon Legends Arceus is the game I've wanted ever since I first picked up a Game Boy. The feeling of going out into the wild and catching Pokemon to train and battle beside has never felt more real than this game. But can you beat it with the hardest rule set possible? Once this question popped into my sick, twisted mind, there was no other option but to find the answer. So how did I make this game nearly impossible? First off, this will be a hardcore Nuzlocke. If you don't know what that means, the rules are on screen now. Basically, I can only catch the first new Pokemon I see per named area in the game that isn't in Alpha. If they faint, they're considered dead and can no longer be used. No items in battle, and in order to avoid over-leveling, I'll be using a cap. Now let's get to the fun stuff. This game introduced a lot of mechanics that people seem to love, and I won't be allowed to use any of them. First, we have Move Mastery. When a Pokemon levels up enough, it'll master its moves, allowing it to use either the Agile or Strong style of that move. Agile moves typically allow Pokemon to use another move before their opponent at reduced power, while Strong style moves do more damage but decrease the Pokemon's attack speed. You can imagine how the two might be used in order to make battles more manageable, which is exactly why I'm banning them. Perhaps the most welcome change is to Pokemon's movesets. You can now swap out the 4 moves your Pokemon has with any that they've learned up till that point. Unfortunately for me, if I take a move off a Pokemon, I can never reteach it to them. Going hand in hand with this, I won't be allowing myself to use Zisu the move tutor to teach my Pokemon any additional moves. Next, and probably most important, if my character ever faints, whether it be from fall damage, a battle with a noble lord, or anything else, I have to reset the entire run. So I guess in a sense you could say this is deathless. Lastly, the game changed how EVs work, introducing items called Grit Dust, Gravel, Pebbles, and Rocks, which you can use to boost your Pokemon's EVs. Wild and Trainer Pokemon hit really hard in this game, but even with that, I'm banning these items, so I'll basically be at 0 EVs unless the Pokemon have some when I catch them. And if all that wasn't enough, this is my very first run of the game, and I've stayed spoiler free, so I won't even be able to plan for the fights since I don't know when they are. With the rules laid out, let's see how this goes. When it's finally time to pick my starter, I go with Cyndaquil because I live and die by fire types. I can't wait to see what its Hisuian form looks like. Our first battle is on our way out of the village against Volo, who appears to be a traveling merchant with a striking resemblance to a certain someone. He just has a Togepi, so this shouldn't be too hard. Why does Tackle do so much damage? Luckily, my quick attacks beat him out, and I actually get to use 2 in a row because the move increases our attack speed. With that out of the way, I name Cyndaquil Sai and finish up the tutorial. Before really being able to explore on my own, the game has us battle Akari, and oh, she's a Pikachu, that's pretty cool. I like that they didn't just give her one of the other starters from Professor Laventon. Thundershock hits for 24 damage, but Ember does over half. After Quick Attack brings us into the red, we're able to win this fight with 1 more Ember. At least now I'm finally able to start catching Pokemon. On Aspiration Hill, I snag a Bidoof, who I name Mace. Really nice change that it gets rollout so early since it's actually going to be really helpful. I also catch a Starly before battling Mai of the Diamond Clan. I didn't realize there would be a battle here, so my team isn't healed up. Starly's Aerial Ace only does about a quarter to Munchlax as it kills with rollout. Well, there's our first death. Next I send in Sai and actually get an Ember Burn, which is huge against the physical attacker. Even with the halved attack stat, rollout still takes most of our health, and now I'm in trouble. Not wanting my starter to go down, I bring in Bidoof and rollout, which brings Munchlax into the red with a crit. The response is a strong style rollout, which decimates Mace, and now we're down to only our starter. I go for rollout with Cyndaquil, which is able to win the battle, but damn, I did not realize how tough this game would be. I definitely need to be more careful going forward. Shinx and Geodude are the replacements for the deceased, but after Buizel's Aqua Jet does big damage, I decide to forfeit the encounter at Windswept Run. Now we get introduced to Alpha Pokemon in the form of Kricketune. These are basically bigger, stronger versions of regular Pokemon, and I highly recommend avoiding them at all costs in a Nuzlocke situation. But this one is part of the story, so we have to fight it. It's a bug type, so Geodude should really have no problem taking care of this thing with Stab Rollout. It starts the battle immediately with a strong style absorb, which massacres Meteor. Alright, that's fine. I have Cyndaquil, so this should still be a piece of cake. Ember doesn't do half, but it'll be a 3-shot. I decide to check rollout's damage since Cyndaquil has a calm nature, but it doesn't do as much. And then this happens. Kricketune Aerial Ace is somehow strong enough to flat out kill my starter. I am devastated. Is my level 8 Shinx even gonna be able to finish this, or is it already the end of the line? I go for Thundershock, which only does about half of what this monster has left. Tackle does 50% of my health, but we're able to win by the skin of our teeth. Well, now it's just a Shinx and a dream. After being tasked with quelling Cleaver, the Lord of the Woods, I catch a Kricketot named Kunai and I'm actually able to evolve Shinx into Luxio. Then I catch a Zubat and my Deer Track Heights encounter is Stantler. Now it's time for me to become the thing I fear most. Kricketot evolves into Kricketune and my PTSD triggers. I catch a Baniri and a Silcoon, and when I see a Scyther at Grand Tree Arena, it does too much damage for me to risk catching it, so I run. Before taking on Cleaver, I need to battle Warden Leon and his Goomy. This is where I discover something incredible. Stantler has Calm Mind, which in this game boosts both attack and defense stats, not just special. Honestly, as long as I have Mortar, I feel pretty safe. An Agile style bubble into Acid Spray really doesn't hurt too much as I Calm Mind again and then tackle for a one-shot against the little dragon. My Silcoon evolved into Beautifly, and this is the team going into Cleaver. I'm stopped by Arita, the leader of the Pearl Clan, for a battle before she'll allow me to take on the Lord. Stantler opens with a Calm Mind while staring down her Glaceon. After the buffs, we take a Quick Attack and Swift combo pretty well. Now I use Tackle, but it does under half the evolution's health. Another Swift brings us down to 32 health, but we should be able to live one more. I Tackle again and Swift leaves Mortar with only 3 HP, so I need to swap. Kunai is sent out and Swift does just over half her health, so it's looking like I'll have to let her go down. To my surprise, Slash is actually strong enough to kill, so we get out of this one without any casualties. And now we're face to face with the frenzied noble himself, Cleaver. Basically, the way these noble lord fights work is you throw balls of their favorite food at them while learning attack patterns and dodging. Sometimes the lord will become dazed and you can send a Pokemon in to start a battle. As you can see here, Cleaver opens with Aerial Ace, which my Baniri survives. The reason I led Baniri is so I can use Baby Doll Eyes to lower this thing's attack. After that, I swap into Mortar, who takes Air Slash pretty well. I set up Calm Mind, and you can see how much the game is struggling to render everything while this battle is going on. But hey, I'm still loving it. Aerial Ace doesn't do too much, and now I can start firing off Confusions. I don't want to risk Stantler dying, so I bring in Luxio, who is on the receiving end of Stealth Rock, which in this game actually does damage. As the Lord's attack stat returns to normal, which stat drops not being permanent is news to me, Luxio takes it down to 0 health with a Thunder Fang. So now apparently its guard is down and I can throw food more easily? That's the reward for risking my Pokemon's lives? I do a lot of throwing and dodging until we're finally able to calm the frenzied Cleaver. Before setting off on our next mission, Akari challenges us to another battle. She's added a Mime Jr. to the team, but a critical hit slash from Kricketune gets a one-shot. Pikachu's Quick Attack Thundershock combo comes out again, which does more damage than I'd like it to, so I swap into Luxio. Following Kunai's lead, we get a crit bite to drop Pikachu, winning us the battle. Now on to the Crimson Mirelands. I catch a Badoo and make a terrible play as I send Zubat to her death against this Ralts. There go my dreams of having a Crobat. We run into Volo, so it's time for another battle. He leads his Togepi and I send out Stantler. After a Calm Mind, the Fairy type uses Draining Kiss, but we hang on pretty nicely. I decide to set up again, and this time my buffs are met with a Calm Mind of Volo's own. Tackle doesn't even do half of Togepi's health, and it regains basically all of it with a second Draining Kiss. I have a double attack turn coming up, so I decide to use Hypnosis to make Togepi drowsy. Unfortunately, this doesn't stop it from KOing Stantler, and this is the second time after Cyndaquil I was legitimately sad during this run. I loved Mortar, and he got me out of some pretty tight spots. I send out Whip the Beautifly since it has Poison Sting, and he actually does a good amount of damage through the Calm Mind boost. The second one switches the status condition from Drowsy to Poisoned, which is actually really cool that can happen. What's not cool is how much damage Draining Kiss does. With its stats reset, I'm hopeful a Poison Sting will kill, but I highly overestimated the damage output. Whip dies and Togepi doesn't get too much health back since we were already low. I bring in Brass, who's become our de facto starter, and he's able to get this first kill with Thunderfang. Volo also has a Gibble, and before I get a chance to switch out, he bulldozes and one-shots me? Really? Right as I said Luxio was my de facto starter? Badoo comes in to start chipping away with Absorb, but of course Volo has no mercy. Gibble uses Strong Style Bulldoze, taking yet another of my Pokemon down. Baniri hits the field and uses the super effective Draining Kiss, but the Landshark somehow survives on 1 HP. It answers with Bulldoze, but we survive and use a Quick Attack to put an end to this massacre. Volo, you just became public enemy number 1. Okay, what's going on now? No, not another battle. Alright, she only has a Toxicroak, but it is a fighting type. Of course, Strong Style Rock Smash. It all comes down to Kricketune now? I used 2 slashes, and after surviving a Venoshock, we're actually able to make it out alive. I catch a Stunky and add it to the squad, along with a Yanma, but he's over the level cap, so I can't use him yet. Then I experience my first space-time distortion and make the on-the-fly call that I can get an encounter in one of these for each of the 5 main areas of the game. I think that's pretty fair. These distortions will randomly appear on the map and hold different Pokemon and items than what you'd typically find in the overworld. There are even some Pokemon that can only be found in these distortions. Floatzel is the first Pokemon I saw, so that's what we're going for. Look at how dumb it is that I can't throw balls through this very clear hole. Because of that, Floatzel notices me, but I decide to take a stand. If I don't add this thing to my team now, I think the run is as good as over. I send in Kunai, but a Water Pulse takes her under half. I Absorb, which gets me over, but then I realize that if multiple Pokemon see you and you initiate a battle, they'll all attack. Eevee hits Tackle, and then Floatzel's Aqua Jet leaves Kricketune with 3 HP. With no other option, I throw a ball and say a prayer, which is answered as Floatzel's caught. My joy quickly turns to sorrow as Eevee still attacks and finishes off Kunai with Quick Attack. For a Pokemon I never liked, I gotta say I really grew attached to Kricketune. It got us out of a few jams, even when I was intending to use it as death fodder. Before taking on Ursaluna, I catch a Rhyhorn, Paris, and Ghastly, 2 of which evolve into Haunter and Parasect before the level cap of 26. Longsword the Floatzel is definitely the MVP of my team now, so she'll be taking the lead against the next Noble. But this one actually isn't frenzied. I click Fight and see that Water is super effective, so good luck on my part. Water Pulse does just under half the bear's health, but a critical hit slash means I need to get Floatzel out of there. I haven't seen a ground move yet, so I decide to switch in Halberd the Rhyhorn. After a Baby Doll Eyes, I Rock Smash, which barely does anything, and a Bulldoze brings Rhyhorn really low. This means it's time for another swap, this time into Claws the Parasect, who's met with another Baby Doll Eyes. Now we're able to paralyze Ursaluna with Stun Spore, and we get the full para. A few slashes later, and we're able to win this battle, but boy was that close. If I hadn't gotten such good paralysis RNG, I would have lost Parasect there. Nothing really happens between this battle and our next Frenzied Lord, so let's jump right into Hisuian Lilligant. This fight pretty much consists of timing your rolls since you have invincibility frames while rolling through attacks. When the Pokemon was dazed, I did decide to send Stunky out against it. After Rock Smash did less than half, I got a little greedy and decided to go for Poison Gas because the following turn, Venoshock's power would be doubled. I still don't really have this whole strong and agile style thing in my head, especially since I'm not using them, but yeah, that's the end of Stunky. Yanma, who rejoined the team, comes in and drops Lilligant to 0 with an Air Slash. After that, I finish this fight off and it's time to move on to Cobalt Coastland. Before being allowed to explore, Arita challenges me to another battle. This time, aside from her Glaceon, there's an Eevee also targeting me. I had Rhyhorn out front who gets absolutely shredded by Ice Beam. Rest in peace, Halberd. Then I bring in Floatzel and use Water Pulse, doing just under half of Glaceon's health. Irita's Eevee uses Agile style Quick Attack followed by a regular one for a decent chunk of damage. Then we're hit with another Ice Beam, which brings us down to... nice. I realize that I get to attack twice before Glaceon goes again, so I'm able to stay in, fire off a Water Pulse, tank Eevee's Quick Attack, and kill the real threat with an Aqua Jet. After another hit from Eevee, we're in kill range, so I decide to play it safe and switch into Haunter. I Poison Gas as Eevee uses Baby Doll Eyes, but the boosted Venoshock is still enough to win us the battle. While exploring, I catch a Glameow and oh my god, it's a shiny Aipom! And it's my first encounter on Aipom Hill! Your name shall be Nuke, and you shall be all-powerful. The fun doesn't stop there because Nuke immediately levels up and is ready to evolve into his final form. I unfortunately had to forfeit my space-time encounter here because the Pokemon were too dangerous. But I did catch a Machop and decided to add Fists to the squad. I somehow made it up a hill I shouldn't have been able to climb yet and catch a level 44 Hisuian Growlithe as my encounter. Talk about power in the pasture. I add Slingshot the Psyduck and Flail the Remoraid to the team since the next noble is Hisuian Arcanine, and because of Growlithe, I know this thing is a Fire Rock type. While completing the mission to get Basculegion to give us a ride, Machop evolves into Machoke and Remoraid into Octillery. These three clowns show up again and steal one of Polina's Growlithe to take to Fire Spit Island. When I finally catch up to the Misfortune Sisters, I'm forced to fight all three in a row, which obviously was news to me. First is Clover with her Abomasnow. I lead Floatzel but need to switch since a grass move could very well one-shot. Really regretting bringing half a team of water types now. I bring in Slingshot as death fodder to an energy ball so I can get a clean switch to Machoke. After Bulk Up, which like Calm Mind also raises both physical and special stats in this game, Energy Ball does around 45%. Next turn we land a Mach Punch, and after dodging a second Energy Ball, one more gives us the win. Now it's time for our rematch with Coin. I start by swapping Floatzel out to Haunter and land in Hex for over half of Toxicroak's health. Unfortunately, a super effective Mud Bomb buries Injection, and this one really stings. I was honestly looking forward to having a Gengar since they're so consistently good in any game. Mud Bomb grants a new status condition called Obscured, where the user becomes shrouded in dust and has increased evasiveness. I bring in Aipom, who unfortunately misses his Mud Bomb and gets hit hard by Poison Jab. This is my first time encountering the condition, so I didn't realize how strong it was as I miss a second Mud Bomb. Huge missed Poison Jab on the returning end. Since Toxicroak is no longer obscured, a super effective Mud Bomb hits, and that's two of the sisters down. Last is Charm, who opens with Rhydon. This, of course, is no issue for Floatzel, who opens up with a Water Pulse kill. Last is her Gengar, but after missing a Hypnosis, Longsword gets another one-shot, this time with Crunch. I replaced the deceased with a Gastrodon I caught at Seagrass Haven and Stiletto the Carnivine from Crimson Mirelands. Now let's take on Arcanine. Everything about this fight was fine until the second phase. Arcanine jumps in the center of the field and creates a ring of fire, isolating you to one of the 4 small circles that you're currently occupying. Want to know how to make a boss battle not fun? Force the player to precisely roll through attacks while avoiding going into lava or toward the center of the map because they can get damaged from anywhere. On top of that, Arcanine has an attack where it charges 5 balls of fire, and if you don't hit it with 5 bombs, it launches a pillar of fire, which is nearly unavoidable. Since you can't get close enough to reliably hit it with bombs, you need to really focus your aim and launch them across the map. Since I'm a god tier gamer, I was able to avoid a reset and beat this on my first try, but this win came at a huge expense. I sent Floatzel into battle but missed a ×4 Aqua Tail. Arcanine was fast enough to use and connect 2 Rock Slides, killing Longsword. At least her death wasn't in vain. Before we can continue our journey, we have to battle Adaman, the leader of the Diamond Clan. I can very clearly see a Leafeon standing beside him, so I prepped the team for that. Yup, just like I thought. I open with Chatot, who I caught at Deadwood Haunt, but Leafeon sets up a Calm Mind, which is pretty scary. I go for Air Cutter, but my bad luck streak continues as we miss the attack. Then we take Chip from Eevee's Quick Attack, and Leafeon gets a kill with Strong Style Leaf Blade. Now I bring in Shuriken, who also gets hit by Eevee, but then lands Silver Wind for big damage on Leafeon. Eevee uses Agile style quick attack to get 2 of the attack off, making Yanma a sitting duck for another Leafeon Leaf Blade. At least the main threat is at low HP now, so I bring in C4 the Quillfish, who's greeted by Eevee just like everyone else. Now we can Poison Jab to kill the evolution, but the pre-evolved form is still a nuisance. It uses Agile style quick attack into Baby Doll Eyes to lower our attack. To be safe, I swap into Machoke, and after, you guessed it, quick attack, I finally put an end to this battle with Mach Punch. I backtrack to Obsidian Fieldlands for a few more encounters and actually managed to get a Chimchar at Ramenas Island. Fun fact, Infernape is my favorite starter of all time, so I'm hyped. The perfect replacement for our original starter Cyndaquil. We go to Coronet Highlands next, where our mission is to quell the frenzied Electrode. I encounter a Heracross, but Parasect tags along for the battle. I'm using a Magmar I caught on Fire Spit Island, so I'm not too worried about being outnumbered. Flame Wheel brings Heracross into the red, so I think I'll have an easy catch, but then Double Edge kills Blaster and the recoil kills Heracross, so that was a net loss of 2 Pokemon for me. Electrode's Warden Melee is a real pain as he tries to stop us from calming the Lord by battling. His Skuntank is really strong as Poison Jab does good damage to Machoke. I see that I can use 2 Mach Punches before it's his turn again, so I decide to see how much damage the first does, and it's absolutely pathetic. Here I swap to Gastrodon, who takes Night Slash pretty well. Then, since I want to be obscured, I go for Mud Bomb, but it outright kills the skunk. After this fight, it's time for Chimchar to join the squad, and I add Parasect back. Before getting Sneasler to aid us, Ingo asks us if we'd battle him. Funny enough, we both lead with Machokes, but mine is faster, so I use Bulk Up. He opts for Bullet Punch, which doesn't do much, but he's also able to use Double Edge right after. I hang on and use a Mach Punch, but it doesn't look like another will kill. I bring in Claws to die and give me a clean switch, but she actually lives a Double Edge. Parasect uses her last bit of energy to stun Spore Machoke before going down to another Double Edge. Now I'm able to bring in Gastrodon and Mud Bomb for the first KO. He has a Tangela, and at this point in the game, I was convinced Obscurity was broken and just didn't let you get hit, so I fearlessly stayed in. At least it paid off, as I was able to use 2 Ancient Powers to kill the Grass type. Last is Gliscor, but my boosted Water Pulse is more than enough to end this thing's life. Just to show off a few more catches, I nabbed a Chimecho, Gligar, and Magnezone in the air, which I thought was so cool. Here's a quick update on everyone that's alive. Since Growlithe is finally under the level cap, it's time to give him a Firestone and get ourselves a beautiful Hisuian Arcanine. Seriously, this guy is gonna stop us again? This time he has 3 Pokemon attacking us at once, so I swap Arcanine into my newly caught Magnezone. Of course, Skuntank has Flamethrower, which brings us super low, and I managed to get a Thunder Wave off before dying to Skorupi's Bite. Now, forgetting Skuntank is a Dark type, I bring in Chimecho, who gets hit with Hypnosis from Zubat and swiftly dies to a Night Slash from the Skunk. Not my best play. Time for all reliable Nuke to use a Mud Bomb, and he misses. At least Skorupi doesn't attack, and Zubat's Gust does basically nothing, so we're able to connect our second Mud Bomb, which brings Skuntank low. It gets full parried, and we only take a Venoshock from Skorupi, but then miss another Mud Bomb. At least the Dust Cloud lets us avoid Poison Jab. This turn, we finally take down Melee's ace, and after a nasty plot, all it takes are 2 Swifts to knock out the others. I do some grinding, and Monferno evolves, then it's time to take on Electrode. I thought this battle was pretty easy. You honestly just have to keep rolling and you'll be fine. With that out of the way, I evolve Togepi twice into Togekiss and make my way to the Alabaster Icelands. Aside from there obviously being ice types here, one big encounter I'd like to mention is this Riolu. Lucario is such a strong Mon, and I can't wait to add one to the team. Let's hope I didn't just jinx that. The first battle here is against Dorita's mentor, Garrick. He has a Glalie and Frostless, but I've got Arcanine. I use the new move Raging Fury, which has a new effect called Fixation. If used in succession, a fixated move will do increased damage, but the target Pokemon will also deal more damage to the user. That's not a problem here since Glalie goes down to 1, but after I miss, I switch to Fire Fang to KO Frostless. Between this battle and Snow Point Temple, I catch a Kadabra at Lake Acuity, and this definitely won't be the last we see of him. This is probably the most terrifying sentence I've ever read in a Pokemon game. Arcanine is 4 times weak to ground, so I decide to go to Gastrodon since he's really the perfect counter to this trio. Immune to Electivire's stab, 4 times effective against Rhyperior, and 4 times resistant to Magmortar. I think if I didn't have this Pokemon, the run would end here. Dynamite comes in and it seems like Electivire only has electric moves since it goes for Thunder Punch. Then Magmortar misses a Poison Gas, but Rhyperior's high horsepower really hurts. I check levels to see that Rhyperior is the real threat, but instead of the 4 times effective Water Pulse, I use Mud Bomb to hopefully kill and become obscured. Unfortunately, Rhyperior survives, but we take no damage this turn and get a Water Pulse kill. After another damageless turn, I target Magmortar since Electivire can't touch me, and then 1 more Earth Power wins us the battle. Is it too early to make a Gastrodon MVP call? Before earning Braviary's trust, we need to battle it, but Arcanine gets to shine here. After a Rock Slide, Braviary uses Roost, which I completely forgot gets rid of its flying type. After my second Rock Slide doesn't kill, I switch to Crunches since this new form is a Psychic flying type. It hangs on after 1, but then we're able to take it down. I feel like this area has had the only 2 easy battles for me between Garrick and Braviary. Next, I do a lot of grinding before the last Noble Lord battle against Avalugg. I realize I have 2 Dusk Stones, so I'm actually able to evolve my Mischievous I caught at Stonetooth Rose in the Coronet Highlands. And I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with Mismagius' stats. Could be good to have a Ghost type around. Alright, so where's this Avalugg I've been hearing all about? Oh my god, he's massive! Good news is its attacks are pretty slow and easy to avoid. When it's time to send a Pokemon out, obviously I go with Infernape since this thing is Ice type. I'm anticipating a secondary typing like all the other Nobles, and my mind went to Steel thinking he'd be 4 times weak to Flamethrower. Well, he survives one and then a strong style Earth Power murders Scimitar. Why does everyone I love die? Dynamite comes in and I Earth Power to bring the Behemoth to 0. That's another Lord down, but at what cost? The next day, the sky turns purple and suspicion is thrown on me from Commander Komodo, who orders me to be ousted from the village. After Silene escorts me on my walk of shame, Volo comes to my aid and brings me to meet Kogita. We're basically in the endgame now, so here's an update on what I'm working with in the Living Pasture. The game now has me choose between having Arita or Adaman help me, and I chose Adaman strictly because I like his character better. Now we need to take on the Lake Valor, Acuity, and Verity Alpha Pokemon in order to forge the Red Chain from pieces of Azelf, Uxie, and Mesprit. First up is Overquill, which is a new Quillfish evolution. Unfortunately, you need to use strong style attacks to evolve it, so I couldn't get one. I lead Dynamite and a Double Edge takes me down to 90 health. That's the only hit this alpha gets in, as we're able to take it out with an Earth Power after recoil. Hisuian Zoroark is a Ghost normal type, so I lead Quillfish. It uses a new move, Bitter Malice, and this is the first time I see the status condition Frostbite. I didn't know this at the time, but Frostbite is the special equivalent of Burn, cutting special attack by 50% and doing damage each turn. Had I known this, I probably would have swapped out instead of using the special Dark Pulse here. No wonder it only did 50%. An Agile style Nasty Plot makes this thing even more dangerous as a second Bitter Malice kills C4. At this rate, I'm not going to be left with any high leveled Pokemon for the final boss. I bring in my tried and true Arcanine, but I'm nervous that Crunch won't kill since I saw Stab Dark Pulse do less than I expected. I hold my breath as I click the attack, and we live to see another day. The hardest of the 3 is definitely Hisuian Goodra. All I know is that it's Dragon type, so I lead my Togekiss. It uses a new move called Shelter, which raises defense and obscures the Pokemon. Maybe best move in the game. I set up a Calm Mind to combat the defense buff, but then Goodra reveals Iron Tail, which almost kills Sheath. Here I switch into Gastrodon and I take a Hydro Pump pretty well. Ground is super effective, so it clicks for me that this thing is Dragon Steel. Great defensive typing. I try to use Mud Bomb to get obscurity of my own, but can't connect on the oversized snail. Luckily, she misses her second Hydro Pump and then the Shelter buffs wear off. Dynamite is able to connect his second Mud Bomb, so I feel like we're in a good spot. Another Shelter comes out and I decide to use my Veil to get HP back with Recover. This thing hits right through Obscurity for back-to-back Dragon Pulses, putting us in the red. I recover again to stall out Shelter and survive a Hydro Pump. Now I go for Earth Power, but it isn't enough to get the kill and we end up losing our hard carry. I'm not sure I could beat this game without him, but I need to press on. Riolu comes in to clean up the last of Gudra's HP with close combat, and the red chain is now ours. I need to take a big step back before going to Mount Coronet and really work on getting my team up to snuff. While thinking about any encounters I have left, I remember that I haven't seen a space-time rift in the Alabaster Icelands or Coronet Highlands. Since I'm already in the Highlands, I wait around for a distortion and am pleasantly surprised when Drapion is my first encounter, and I manage to catch it while it sleeps. Look at how great my ball work is here. Fastest hands this side of the Mississippi. Next, I backtrack to the Icelands and manage to catch a Scyther in a rift. Scyther is fine, but why couldn't it be something better like Scizor? Riolu also finally evolves into Lucario, which is a much needed buff for the team. With the last of my encounters rounded out, I rack my brain for any other way to juice up the squad. Then it hits me. By collecting lost satchels throughout the world, you earn merit points. These points can be traded in for items that evolve Pokemon like a Link Cable, Electrizer, Protector, you get the point. And who do I have in the pasture? Not Machoke, but the Kadabra I caught at Lake Acuity. Say hello to my favorite Pokemon, Spoon. If you couldn't tell by now, my naming theme for this run was loosely based on weapons, and if you don't think a wooden spoon is a weapon, you didn't grow up in an Italian household. I start to climb up to the temple and, oh hey Benny, what are you doing here? Wait, you're a ninja? And he challenges me to a battle? Actually crazy plot twist. Good thing I have my newly caught Drapion as my lead because Benny starts off with Mismagius. After Hypnosis, I get to attack twice, so I Swords Dance and have no problem taking the Ghost down with Crunch. Next is Sneasler, which is a poison fighting type, and after a quick attack, Benny fires off a strong style close combat that destroys Jaws. Now it's time to bring in Alakazam. I notice I have 2 turns, so I take the opportunity to set up Calm Mind before obliterating Sneasler with a ×4 Psychic. Wally's ancestor sends out a Gardevoir next who matches my Calm Mind. Not wanting to risk Alakazam, I play things safe and switch into Togekiss. Psychic does huge damage and gets a defense drop, so things aren't looking good for Sheath. I use Baby Doll Eyes and then Calm Mind to maybe survive an attack, but Strong Style had something else to say about that. I'm hopeful that 2 Bullet Punches from Lucario will be enough to get the kill here, and I was right. His last Pokemon is Gallade, but before I get a chance to do anything, it Drain Punches Boomerang for a kill. I'm really just trading Mons out here, aren't I? I bring Mismagius out and a few Shadow Balls finally get the job done. I'm making the call now that Benny is the hardest trainer in this game, but we aren't even finished yet. I grab the very few high-leveled Pokemon I have left and we come face to face with the man who banished us from Jubilife Village. Kamado leads his Sween Braviary, and good on me that I had Electabuzz out front. I'm faster and decide not to risk a Thunder Mist, but Thunderbolt wasn't enough for a kill. At least we get the Paralysis. After a max potion, we see the Thunder Mist, and Kamado responds with an Agile style Esper Wing, followed by a regular one which kills Electabuzz. From here I bring in Arcanine and Rock Slide, but just like Thunderbolt, Braviary barely hangs on. We take Esper Wing pretty well, and in order to avoid a miss, I use Crunch to take the bird down. Next is a Snorlax, and it moves before me for a high horsepower kill. We had Shield for so long, and I really hate to see him go right at the end here. Fists comes in to avenge his friend as I combo a Bulk Up into a close combat for a guaranteed kill. Clefable is the commander's next Pokemon, and after an Agile style Calm Mind, Machoke has no chance surviving a Psychic. I bring Gligar in next to use Poison Jab, but it doesn't even do half of the fairy's health. To make matters worse, it's Strong Style Psychics to take another kill. With the stat boosts gone and a guaranteed double turn, it's time for Spoon to do his thing. I Calm Mind turn 1, and then a Psychic destroys Clefable. Last is Golem, and while it does use a double edge, the new physical and special buffs that Calm Mind give might just make Alakazam the best Pokemon ever. It survives, and single Psychic wins us the battle. One last team re-up, and we finally see what's happening at the top of Mount Coronet. Since I picked Adaman over Arita, Dialga comes out of a portal and tells me to catch it. I lead a Voltorb with Thunder Wave, and that's it. Polax fulfilled its one mission in life. After dying, the creatively named Scythe the Scyther comes in and close combats to bring the legendary into the yellow. After a full paralysis, I throw an Ultra Ball and actually catch Dialga on my first one. Is that normal? Let me know down in the comments. We need to get some Origin Ore, and of course the Misfortune Sisters show up one last time, but we only had to fight Charm and nothing crazy happened. I don't use legendaries in challenge runs, but the game makes you bring Dialga to the final fight, so it'll just sit in the back of the party. And what the hell is this? They made Palkia a centaur? This fight is just more pattern recognition, but oddly enough, I never sent a single Pokemon in to do battle. I ended up winning just one hit away from death, so there's some suspense for ya. After my Space Bombs quell Palkia's frenzy, we catch it in the Origin Ball and the sky's clear. I can't believe I actually did it. I thought about how I could make this game as hard as possible, especially for a blind playthrough, and I came out on top. It sucks that I didn't get to use whatever mods I wanted to, but I had so much fun with this challenge. To recap, I caught 55 Pokemon and only 21 of them survived this gauntlet. If you're looking for a way to make this game harder, I highly recommend not using strong or agile style moves. I mean, just look at the disadvantage I was at this whole time. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and drop a comment letting me know what you'd like to see next. Also, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on more Legends Arceus challenges. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.